Now, since the new show, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, is premiering on Netflix this Friday, I decided that now would be a really good time to talk about a movie that I feel like has been pretty overlooked. And that is the film adaptation of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. It's about kids named Violet, Klaus, and Sunny, and after their parents are mysteriously killed in a fire, they become orphans and are sent to their distant relative, Count Olaf, to be in his care. But as things progress, it seems Count Olaf might be hiding some skeletons in his closet. Now, I like to call this movie the greatest Tim Burton movie that Tim Burton never directed, because when you look at this movie, it looks like something Tim Burton would have made. The weird, costumes, the weird camera shots, the set designs. I could easily imagine Tim Burton directing this movie. I won't get too much into the cinematography in this movie, but apparently it was actually done by Emanuel Lubensky. Yeah, the guy who shot these movies. Wow! This guy has a really impressive resume. Brad Silberling directed this movie, and he also directed Land of the Lost, which I feel like is pretty underrated in my opinion. I don't know why people hate that movie. And he also directed Casper. And this movie was executive produced by Barry Sonnenfeld. You know, the guy who directed the Men in Black trilogy. The Men in Black trilogy. And even though this movie has a decent 72% Rotten Tomatoes, it kind of disappointed in the box office. I really wish this movie made more money because this would have been a really great franchise. When I first saw this movie as a kid, I loved it so much. Most kids had Harry Potter. I had Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've never read the books, but seeing as how this movie was based on 3 of the books, and it was just put into one movie, it's a miracle that this movie does not feel rushed. This movie feels perfectly paced. It feels like all these stories belong in one movie. And that's saying something, because we've had so many movies that are just bloated with so many things because they're trying to base it on multiple sources. And yet this movie was able to not only keep a simple 3-act structure, but it was also very comprehensible and really good in my opinion. In fact, I'd say this movie's even great. Now, I'm just gonna say this. Jim Carrey is perfect in this movie. Just like Ace Ventura, just like The Mask, just like the live-action Grinch, I can't imagine anybody else filling in this role. I really can't. And I know Neil Patrick Harris is gonna be the new Count Olaf, but just looking at that, it doesn't feel natural. I mean, yeah, Jim Carrey looks pretty over the top in this role, but he still looks a bit more natural. He's cartoony, but he's still realistic looking. Do you know what I mean? And I guess Count Olaf was darker in the books and was a little bit less funny. I don't mind this though, because, I mean, he still has some pretty creepy moments. Not too creepy for kids. And while some people could say that, you know, Jim Carrey is just being Jim Carrey in this movie, again, I haven't gotten sick of it yet. It's still really funny. Besides, once you see Jim Carrey pretend to be a dinosaur, you tend not to question things anymore. And back to Jim Carrey's sinisterness in this movie, because, again, I mean, it's still mixed in with comedy, but there are a few moments where he is kind of giving off a little bit of a creepy vibe. Like, for example, during the train scene, he's holding up a monster magazine, and when he slowly starts to lower it down, he makes the same face that the monster on the cover is making. It's both funny and kind of creepy at the same time, especially when he gives that evil laugh a few seconds later. I also love his alter egos, Stefano and Captain Sham. Captain Sham is funny, but oh my god, Stefano is so funny. In case you don't know, Count Olaf is an actor, and so throughout the movie he's in disguises trying to spy on the kids. And they're so fake. Luckily it's not bad because the movie knows that he's a complete phony and that it's not convincing anyone. Actually, it is convincing everyone except for the kids for some reason. But Stefano is just so over the top and weird. Yes. My name is Stefano. I am an Italian man. And my mustache is a bit askew. Good lord, I could watch Stefano all day. He is that funny. There's actually a pretty funny scene between Jim Carrey and Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly's character, Dr. Montgomery, is a herpetologist. So he's really interested in reptiles and has a bunch of reptiles in his house. And Count Olaf, as Stefano, wants to assist Montgomery with milking a snake. And he starts, like... He obviously has no clue what he's doing. Like, Count Olaf as Stefano goes, you know, it's, little udders, they're kinda hard to find. Even though that's not how you milk a snake. But what's really funny about this scene is that Billy Connolly seems completely content with holding a snake. He knows what to do. He's very calm about it. There's a couple times during this scene where Jim Carrey is obviously confused on what to do with the snake. Like, for example, when the snake gets close to him, he's like, ah! It's funny that his character is reacting like that, but it's so clearly Jim Carrey realistically reacting to holding a snake because he obviously has no idea what he's doing. But he still keeps in character, and that's just so funny. And that's another thing. Jim Carrey was reportedly allowed to improvise a lot during this movie, which probably explains the dinosaur scene. The three actors playing the siblings are also great. Each of them has a really cool talent, and they each have a chance to shine in this movie. They each have a moment where their talent is needed in order for them to survive something bad that's happening, especially the train scene. This is where all of their talents are utilized to assist each other in trying not to get killed by a train that's about to hit them while they're in the car. It's such an invigorating scene, and it is so cool and kind of funny seeing them work off of each other. Yeah, I just love that scene so much. In fact, this scene makes me want to be smarter. Sadly, after watching Saving Christmas, I is not able to learn no more. There's also one scene that involves a sanctuary that the siblings make when Count Olaf is being very abusive. And it's really touching. It really is. It really shows how these three are a family. It's very convincing. These three actors are so good. And the scene is very touching. And yeah, this is coming from the same movie that had Jim Carrey acting like a dinosaur. Never gets old. Jude Law as Lemony Snicket is also really funny in the movie. I'm pretty sure Lemony Snicket doesn't actually act like how his character's portrayed, but it's still really funny. Especially with the bait and switches in this movie where you think he's gonna show you something that happens in the movie, but then he completely, goes off the rail and gives you something completely different from what you expected, especially the beginning of this movie. The beginning of this movie is hilarious. I actually knew someone who was going to watch this movie, and they turned it off right when they saw the beginning because they thought it was going to be really stupid. But they didn't sit through it enough. It takes a while for the little, for the complete left turn to happen, but it happens, and it's really funny. Meryl Streep is also really good in this movie. It's weird, like she could have so easily just, went there to get a paycheck. I mean, this is basically just, a movie that was going to be a movie series based on kids' books, and it was from Nickelodeon, so I mean, the fact that she actually tried in this movie is really something, and luckily that trying was successful because, like I said, she's really funny. She's kind of paranoid, it's weird, but she really does a great job in this movie. And, I'm pretty sure she's had better performances. Not that this one isn't a great performance, but, she's Meryl Streep. That's really all I need to say. The music by Thomas Newman is really good, and I'm so glad that it got nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Score, because he really deserves it. I'm going to put a link down below to one of the pieces in the film called Drive Away. It's probably one of my favorite pieces of music in a movie ever. It has sort of like a mystery vibe to it. Yeah. I just don't know how to describe it. You just have to watch it. And even like some of the sequences of the movie, especially in the end credits, it has some sort of like Chinese puppet work thing. It's hard to describe, but it's very cool, really creative, and it fits the tone of the movie perfectly. I just love how different this movie was. Like, it had a completely different vibe from a lot of movies. And, you know, like I said, this might as well have been a Tim Burton movie that Tim Burton didn't direct. But it still felt pretty unique. Like, everything from the bait and switches to the visual style to just the end credits, I just love that they went for a pretty unique movie like this. My only issue is that sometimes they'll have CGI animals, and they don't really look that great, especially the incredibly deadly Viper. Yeah, that kind of looks like something that would be in Anaconda. You know, that movie, Anaconda? Ugh. Nevertheless, I'm going to give the movie adaptation of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events a 9 out of 10. Now, no promises, but however, I'm going to try to do a few movie reviews before a few releases. For example, I'm going to try to do reviews of The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs before Split comes out. I'm going to try to redo my Burton Schumacher Batman review series before the Lego Batman movie comes out, as well as the Lego movie. And maybe John Wick before John Wick Chapter 2 comes out. Again, I have a lot of videos to do. I also got announced the nominees for the 2017 Nerdy Awards. It's just, I have a lot on my plate here. If I can't get some of these done, please don't kill me for it. It's just a really tight schedule right now. So what do you think of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events? Whatever your opinions are, leave it in the comments below, and give this video a like so we can get the channel circulated. And don't forget to press the little bell beside my subscription box, because I guess people are being automatically unsubscribed, which is really stupid. In any case, if you want to see more, click this.